Well, good morning, PRI. How's everyone doing today? Woo! Woo-wee. Thank you for joining us at Indy during this magnificent heat wave we have going on. By the show of hands, whose first PRI is this? Wow, we have a bunch of new people here. Well, welcome. I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys come back. They always do. Whose first Women in Motorsports seminar is this? Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate that. I hope you enjoy the show. I'm sure you will. Who was here last year? Who was here the year before that? 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 Who was here at the very first one in 2016? Nice. Hey, thank you, Marla. What's going on, girl? Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Appreciate the support. If you've noticed, since we first started in 2016, this has been a growing and explosive seminar. The very first one we had probably the smallest room on the property. So yeah, and now we have one of the biggest rooms in the entire facility. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you guys. So 2016 was the very first year that the Women in Motorsports seminar was ever held. It featured Jennifer Lefevre, Lynn St. James, myself, and the late and great Jesse Combs. Do it for Jesse. It was also hosted by a good friend of mine named Dan Sheernan, who's actually in the audience today. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you. Always believing in us ladies. And we probably drove him crazy as well, so bless that man. So we're just going to jump right into it. We will keep some time towards the end for Q&A, so hold your questions, and we'll probably run around a microphone so everyone can hear you. With that being said, let's welcome the 2024 Women in Motorsports panel. So we only have 2 mics. COVID's not a real thing anymore, apparently. So we're going to share it. Let's start with Megan. Megan, introduce yourself and tell us how you got started, and we'll just go down the row.
Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Megan Meyer. I am from the NHRA drag racing world. I've been in it since day one. My dad and uncle and cousins raced, so got to grow up watching them. My dad and uncle have been doing it for 45 years now, and myself, this is my 20th year of driving. So I did junior dragsters and worked my way up to the top alcohol dragster class, which is what my dad raced. And as a kid, I was always like, I want to do what my dad does. So I never really had aspirations to go to the top fuel ranks. I just always wanted to do, what my dad did. So thankfully, I got this chance to jump in the seat of his car in 2016. I did 5 years professionally, had an amazing career. I was the first female to win a championship in our class in 2019, followed up winning it in 2020. I then got married and pregnant, so I stepped away from the seat. My sister then took on the role. She won the championship in 2021, and then we were the 2023 world champions with another female. So we've had an amazing, successful career for our team with female drivers, but also we have female mechanics and crew members on our team as well. My dad taught me and my sister, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you can't work on the car. So he treated us like, we were just boys, and I think we turned out pretty well. So
bless his heart. Well, welcome to the panel, Megan.
Hi, my name is Victoria Thomas, and as exciting and kind of sexy as the driver position might be, accounting people. That's where some fun stories come from, am I right? My introduction to motorsports did come, I was actually owned an accounting firm and was hired to determine the profitability of the different divisions of a company called Kelly Moss, and quickly ended up becoming their full-time CFO and closing my book of business, and eventually becoming an owner, and eventually buying out and now co-owner of Kelly Moss. And if you're not familiar with the team, we are the largest race team in North America by car count, and we are the winningest team in Porsche history.
Woo!
To give you an indication of what that looks like in my world, we won 11 national championships last year. We were on the podium 161 times last year. or not last year, this year, last season, right? I've moved on already. In addition, we also do high-end Porsche builds in our shop, so we get to work with a lot of really fun people doing a lot of really cool stuff.
Welcome to the panel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ellie Wong. Online, I go by F1 Ellie, and I'm a content creator in the motorsports and F1 space. So, coming from Portland, Oregon today. I don't know if there's any Oregonians. Yeah, probably not. Oh, hey! But yeah, so I came in from the West Coast. I started content creation maybe a little bit different than some of the others on stage. I didn't grow up in the automotive space, so I kind of fell into this a little bit sideways during 2020 COVID time. My full-time job in marketing in the healthcare sector went remote, so I had quite a lot of bit of time on my hands and downloaded TikTok, started to get into short form content creation around Formula One, which was starting to grow in the States, as we know, and kind of kept falling sideways a little bit, got into the sim racing side of F1, was Red Bull Racing's first content creator for their esports side, got a lot of opportunities there, and then decided to actually go back to school. So I have a marketing degree, but decided to go to mechanic school because from F1, I started getting a larger interest in motorsports, which also just made me interested in how my own car works. So I'm in a mechanic program right now, which is very general, just trying to understand more about how cars work. And I started to more so get into educational content, mostly about explaining certain sides of motorsports that I find quite fascinating, kind of coming from more of an outsider perspective since this is a newer space for me. So happy to be here.
Welcome to the show, Ellie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madison Conrad. I am an EFI calibration for Roush Yates engines. We provide all the Ford engines for the NASCAR Cup Series and the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Unlike Megan, I was a driver previously, but I was not as talented as Megan is. I ran out of money and or talent. I won't tell you which one I ran out of first. We'll save that for another time. But quickly realized that, okay, I'm not going to make it as a professional race car driver, but I loved it so much and I wanted to make a passion out of it. So moved from my hometown in Albuquerque, New Mexico, out to Mooresville, North Carolina. Attended a technical school there and then got an internship with Roush Yates Engines and now been there for over 8 years. So love it, and I can't talk enough about how much I love my job. I can't believe I tricked them into paying me. I still don't understand how they did that, but happy to be here.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, Madison. So, Madison, we're just going to start with you, seeing that you already have the mic, and we'll just, keep on switching it off, right? So, looking back at how you first began your motorsports journey, what would be one piece of advice, knowing what you know now, if you wish you knew it back then?
Man, if I could give my younger self a young piece of advice, it's to not dismiss any opportunity. I think like when I was younger, I had, such a mindset on, I want to do this, and I kind of, forego some opportunities that I think could have gotten me different places, which, I don't regret it now, but I think as, coming into the motorsports industry, every opportunity is a good opportunity, and obviously, like, if you can't do something, like, be honest with yourself, but I think you come across opportunities, and sometimes we get so laser focused that we kind of dismiss an opportunity. So definitely, I would say that.
Yeah, I think it took me quite a few years to acknowledge that maybe the differences that I myself am self-conscious about are actually potentially more so strengths. I guess to give the example, yeah, I didn't come from the automotive space. Sometimes I think that I sound different or look different. Maybe my knowledge is not there in certain areas that people have. And I think initially, especially coming from the social media side, comparison can be quite easy to fall into the pit holes of. But I think one thing I would recommend to myself is those differences, if you treat them like strengths, it allows you to take a different lens that actually allows you to be able to contribute to the space even more. There's a lot of opportunities, and if you are trying to replicate what's already there, well, why would you get those opportunities, Somebody there that already has tenure, would get those opportunities over you. So really focus on, those differences and just try not to think of them as negatives, maybe neutrals to start out with, but also I would encourage people to think of them as positives.
Yeah, I do too.
I like that
That was
too,
really good. Okay, I'm going to try to chop that. That was excellent.
It's a hard one to follow.
Yeah, it is. For me, I think reframing how you feel about failure is something that I think is incredibly important. I think that as you get older, I'm for sure the oldest one on the panel. As you get older, you start to be more comfortable with not having all of the answers, right? There's something about youth that makes you go, oh shit, I'm supposed to have all the right answers, right? And as you get older, you go, yeah, I'm totally fine with not having the answers. But also with that, I really, really try to embrace those moments where you feel like the wheels have completely come off. And for me, there's this physical almost shrinking, like you want to shrink away because you feel like something's gone so wrong, you failed in some way. And reframing that particular feeling into pay attention, this is the moment where all of your learning comes. This is the moment where if you change how you view this situation, you will have all of your growth. And they're really the biggest moments. So instead of dreading that feeling, actually having that trigger a positive in your mind, that this is where I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna grow and I'm gonna become stronger. And I think that sort of helps you be more fearless about what could come up. I was talking to somebody just the other day about the fact that when we bought Kelly Moss, there was this fraction of a moment, like right before the closing, that I was like, holy crap, like we're spending millions of dollars and I can't even quit my job if I don't like it. What am I doing? And then it just sort of went away and I was like, oh, okay. But that feeling that you'll be okay no matter what if you start to figure out how to frame things such that it's not disabling.
That was really inspiring. And in the beginning of that, I'm picturing Rocky Balboa running up the stairs because we are the champions, right? Thank you.
Yeah, such great advice. And I love, Ellie, what you said about thinking of it as a neutral instead of a negative. I love that. And I guess my advice is the same as what they've been saying, like about growth and opportunities. When I was younger, I said yes to everything outside of racing and racing, and because I was learning and picking up new skill sets. And so, and it is something that like, I didn't know if it was gonna help me in the moment, but now I've been able to like hone in those skills and it's helped me now, 10 years later. So I would just, say yes to every opportunity, no matter what it is. And a piece of advice that I got from a business mentor is he says, what got you here won't get you there. So you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. You have to evolve and change and, develop new skill sets. And you never know like what different path that could take you on. My career completely changed and I had no idea where it was going. When I retired being a race car driver, I didn't know what I was gonna do. And with a newborn baby and that's very difficult. But it's been a few years now and I'm so happy I did that and took those steps.
And you look very happy. You're glowing, by the way. Yeah.
I'm not pregnant, so.
Just gonna clarify that. Okay, I had a little baby bag gift as a gift, but I'll take that back. So speaking about advice and some of the best advice, and I think that's pretty solid. Like doing the same thing over and over and trying to expect different results is literally the definition of chaos, right? So what advice would you advise against, or like if something comes to memory about what is the worst piece of advice you've ever gotten in your career? What's the timeline? I mean, I don't know, top 3, right?
Gosh, I'll have to think about that. I don't know. I guess I'm very fortunate. I haven't had too many tough opportunities. And like with the Women with Drive that we were at this week, you hear about these struggles that women face because they are female and they're trying to become engineers or mechanics and drivers, and people have a bias towards that. So I'm very blessed and fortunate in having a dad that didn't think like that. So very thankful that he was so supportive, and he never pushed us. But like my sister is obsessed with working on cars, and like she thinks it's the coolest thing ever, and I love that for her. She went on to be an engineer. So I don't know.
And I guess you're pretty blessed your dad treated you and thought you guys were boys, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that makes it easier.
Yeah, sorry, it's not like the answer to your question.
Oh, no, it's
but-
good.
Okay, I'll take a stab at that. For me, I think that particularly as women in motorsports and getting asked these types of questions, remembering that I think our number one job is to do a really good job at what we're doing. I think that the first priority is being head down and being successful in your position. I stepped into motorsports and I didn't know anything about it. The worst thing that I could do for myself, for other women, and for the sport is to stand up and down and go, hey, I'm a woman in motorsports, right? Like I'm there doing not a very good job because I don't know what I'm doing. So I think that...
Not because you're a woman, though. You just didn't know how to do your job.
Right,
yeah.
of course, yeah. So I think that there's a lot of like, you need to just get out there. And I absolutely believe that the solution to growing women in motorsports is visibility. That being said, the visibility comes after you have something to say. Jumping up and down and saying, I'm a woman in sports and watch me run at the back of the pack, or, I think that there's success in all of that, but you have to be careful to learn your stuff first before you start raising your hand and being an example.
And I completely agree with that. And I've always been a firm believer in let your work speak for itself, period.
Yeah.
So solid. Ellie?
Yeah, I think, wow, I'm like trying to think of all of the terrible advice people have given me, or I think what it boils down to, because, it could go very anecdotally, but I think any advice that you get that doesn't quite sit right for you, I think throughout the years of doing this, which a lot of what I do is freelance and independent, I have learned the power of listening to your gut. I don't know if that's like gendered or not, but like our gut is a very powerful thing. So much of the decisions that I've made in the past that when I reflect on have, positively shot me to where I feel I am today, which I'm, proud of. I think a lot of it has to do with just having listened to my gut, whether that's what somebody has said and I agree with or disagree with, or maybe even delaying a decision on certain things can be powerful as well. But yeah, I would just argue that listening to that kind of, I don't know if it's a voice or a feeling, but just kind of letting that be your North Star in a way and letting that guide you a little bit more, I would recommend to my younger self.
Yeah, I love what you just said. Obviously, I totally agree with Ellie about, if someone gives you advice, it's advice. You don't have to take it. But for me, like the worst advice I ever got is someone told me, or I guess it's really something that they told me, is just be happy with where you're at. And I was like, ugh. I don't like that.
Right, that's kind of mean. Be grateful.
So don't ever think that just because like you're in motorsports or like you're in a position, don't feel like you have to be happy with where you're at, and like don't feel like you can't achieve something better or change something. So definitely don't ever feel like stuck. Don't ever think that, don't make anyone else like think that you're stuck in that place, and you can change your mind and you can change what you're doing. So that would definitely be my worst advice that I ever got.
Yeah, it almost sounds like they're saying be happy with being content. And
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm
absolutely,
just
yeah,
not that kind
absolutely.
of person. Yeah. So kind of going on that thing, like tell us about your typical day, like work-life balance. What does that look like to you? Does it even exist?
It's tough. It's something I still am struggling with. Obviously, like when I started, I still consider myself pretty early on in my career, and it's tough because you want to outwork everybody, and you want to be the best, and you want to get there first. But it's tough. So my typical work week is pretty busy. I'm going back to school for a mechanical engineering degree, so that kind of takes up all my free time. I travel with the Cup Series, so it's about 38 weekends out of the year living out of a suitcase, but then obviously working at the shop too. But I do try to decompress, and obviously school has made me have to prioritize some stuff at work, prioritize stuff at school. Currently also planning a wedding, so throw that in the mix.
Oh, you're crazy. No way.
Caffeine helps a lot. But anyway, so I try to be intentional with my time. For me, lists work really well. I try to be very organized with what my day looks like, but we all know that sometimes you plan out your day and the next thing you know, you just throw that in the trash. So I just try to, spend enough time, because I've learned very quickly, burnout is a real thing. And if you don't take care of yourself now, that you're not going to be the best in anything that you do. So try to take care of yourself, because it will make you better in every aspect.
I, I would say that I don't have it figured out. And I mean, we were even talking in the room prior. So much of my time going to press trips or these type of events, I am actively, consciously picking people like you guys' brains on how do you have a work-life balance. I've started to travel more and realizing that so much of what I integrated into my daily and weekly life that helped keep my mental health, physical health afloat was actually really reliant on routine. And so a lot of this job in motorsports has to do with travel. And like I'm today flying to Germany, you know, like my time zone's gonna be totally flipped on its head. And when you don't have that routine there, you have to be a lot more active on ensuring that you're putting in those workouts, that you time, a healthy diet. There's so many little things. So I'm not there yet. I am actively picking these people's brains. And it's quite interesting because I'm starting to crowdsource a lot of information. I hear lists, I hear time blocking is a big one, especially of content creators where their schedules are a lot more independent and they can pick and choose what they want to do. So I'm also on the same boat of trying to listen very actively on what you guys recommend.
What are you going to Germany for, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'll be in Stuttgart, so I'll
I'm
say
sorry,
that.
did you say shitguard?
No.
What did you say?
Stuttgart. That's yeah, Stuttgart.
Oh, okay. I'm
Stuttgart.
sorry. I misunderstood. Ich spreche Deutsch.
Yeah, so I'll be doing some presenting with the manufacturer, which is really cool.
Okay.
But yeah, it's quite the travel. You know, it's definitely something that I'm learning more about.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here before going to Germany for Stuttgart. Yeah.
Stuttgart.
Got it. Perfect. Victoria?
I can tell you what works for me, but I can probably tell you that there's not a ton of people that in this group that it might work for. For one thing, I get up between 2:30 and 3:30, 7 days a week. That means I'm so much fun. So does Cindy. That means I'm so much fun when it comes to be nighttime. I'm all like, you want a dinner reservation at 7:30? That's like the middle of the night. Like, I'm not going to dinner at 7:30. But what I love about that is I have a block of like 4 hours that absolutely nobody's putting a single thing on my to-do list. I can get so much done in the morning. I can tell you that I am blessed to be married to a man that understands that when I wake him up at 4:30 in the morning, because I'm like, ooh, it's getting late, I'm gonna load the dishwasher, and I'm 3 cups of coffee in, and I'm like, I have all these ideas, and I've been thinking about this stuff, and he's like, whoa.
Wow.
Just rolled out of bed. But I absolutely refused to date anybody that I worked with ever in my entire life until I was quite a bit older than everybody else here. And so when I met my husband, the reality is there's no work-life balance. We do our tactical work during the course of the day, and then we do our strategic work at night. We're both obsessive workaholics. We work a ton, but if there's anybody in the audience that was a super early riser when they were a child and did the whole like, mom says I have to stay in bed until 7, you know, and I was up at 4:30 or whatever, and I would just count down the time because I couldn't wait to get out of bed. That's literally me in the morning. Like, I cannot wait. Sometimes I'll look and I'll go, man, it's 1:30. Like, I gotta make myself go back to sleep. I make myself stay in bed because I'm so excited to get up and start tackling the amazing stuff that we get to do. So again, being that passionate about what you do, there's terrible days for sure, but there's growth and success in every single one of those. So getting up early, having a life partner that balances what you do or leans into the insanity of your life, and finding joy in what you do to a degree that you couldn't pay me enough to retire. I don't care how much money you give me. So just sort of those things I think are my big takeaways.
You sound like a great asset to an organization, but we could never be roommates. If you're doing those dishes, girl, if you're up at 1:30 in the morning, like, let's go work out. Like, no, that's not my jam. but good for you.
Yeah. So for me, I wake up at 5:30, so not quite as early. But I get that 1 hour to myself because then our toddler wakes up about 6:37. So I've, over the years, and especially, going through the newborn phase, sleep is insane and all that. So thankfully we're, on a routine now. But also this year is my first year full-time working from home, so kind of figuring out a new schedule for that and while having to be a parent at the same time. So he does go to daycare 3 days a week, so I do get, the break there to be able to focus 100% on work. But I have figured out that a nighttime routine is just as important as a morning routine, and sleep is like, if you get horrible sleep, it ruins everything else. Even from working out, like muscle recovery, because working out is huge for me. I love to do it. That's, again, like my me time, and I feel so much better when I get to work out, even if it's just 15 minutes. But if you get horrible sleep, you will not recover. And so sleep is so, so important to me. So bedtime is very strict for us as well. But like just during the day, so for the business that I started, I created an agency where we work strictly with drivers and race teams. We do your branding, your social media, help you with sponsorships. My dream is to just be like a one-stop shop where a driver can come and get everything they need, whether it's templates or we're doing it for you. And it's just because when I was a driver, I didn't have anything like that, or I'd have a person could do, one or two things here, and then I'd have to find someone else to do something else. So it's just, it was a need that I needed, so I wanted to create that. So that's what I'm working on, and I take it a day at a time because it's brand new. I don't know what I'm doing starting a business. But I do have international clients, so I do kind of have to be on call at all times when they, if they need something, or maybe a social media post didn't go up, or Instagram glitched, or whatever, stuff happens. So just learning to find that work-life balance while being a new mom, starting a new business. But thankfully, I do have a very supportive husband as well. We dated for 4 years while I was racing professionally, so he understood that I'm very career focused. I am a workaholic as well. I come from workaholic parents, so that's just naturally, in me. So he's a workaholic as well. He started his own business 20 years ago, so he understands it. So he's very supportive, but I will say he is not a fan of drag racing. He thinks it's very boring. He's a motorcycle guy, and he's like, why do you wait 5 hours to go make a 5-second pass? Like he just doesn't get it. So we have worked out a deal where he doesn't come to my races, and that's completely fine because when he is there, I have to babysit him and entertain him, and it's just way too stressful. So it's like...
So you have 2 children?
Yes.
You have 2 children,
yes.
okay.
So I'm like, please do not come to my races. Because I still race 1 or 2 times a year now just for fun. So it's like, if he comes, it's like, I don't have a good time. So but we have worked through that. We understand that. Like we have... we love to do everything else together, but when it comes to racing, he does his thing, and I do my thing. He's been very supportive this year of me working, 24/7, basically, trying to start a new business, and all that. So it is so important to have a very supportive partner.
That's awesome. And even though he doesn't, come to all the races or whatnot, like he still supports you. Yeah, I mean, when he gets into knitting or something in 20 years, are you going to go to like knitting conventions with him?
It could be. He is older. He is much older than me, so that's probably going to happen.
It's possible. Okay.
But it is funny because we met on social media, but he does not have social media. It turns out we live like 5 minutes away from each other, but he has turned into, the Instagram husband, Instagram boyfriend. So he understands when I ask him for a picture, like we need a certain picture, or I need him to do certain angle or lighting or all this stuff. So he is learning. He is very supportive in that way as well when it comes to content creation.
There's a lot of truth in that. Have you guys ever noticed when you run into someone in the hallway here and you're like, excuse me, sir, can you take this photo of me and my girlfriend? And you can tell when the wives have them trained, because if it's just like this, it's like, no. But if they go like this and they go like this, like, oh yeah, the wife or girlfriend trained that one really well. Yeah. Speaking of social media, so prior to you, starting your own business, we've known each other before you had the baby and got married, and I always thought you were very successful with what you were doing online and your online presence. So, and then you also, now you have this company, so there's a number of you guys on the stage, including Ellie, that have, the big social media influencer and followings. What advice can you give to the audience about anything with social media, specifically about how to grow your audience nowadays? Because it's way different than it was back in the day, or any kind of tips or advice.
Yes. Well, I will say at 1 o'clock today, I am doing a session, and I get 15 minutes to talk about social media, so come to that because it's going to be all about engagement. It's the Sponsorship 101 class at 1 o'clock. So if you want specific, like, this is what you do, come to that session. But when it comes to social media, it's a chore. I understand. Like, if I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't do it. But it's something you need to do, especially if you are a driver, because you are the brand ambassador, not only for your team, but also for every single one of your partners and sponsors. So unfortunately, it is mandatory nowadays, right? So figuring out a schedule and a strategy that works for you. There's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to social media. Trends and algorithms are changing every single day. Instagram's doing, every month, like, there's a new Instagram update, and things change. It used to be, all photos, and then it was reels, and now it's like kind of going back to photos. And so, like, be flexible with it. Understand that it does constantly change. So kind of like what I said, what got you here won't get you there. The strategy that you might have done for the past year probably doesn't work anymore when it comes to social media. But one thing that does always work is engagement. The first word in social media is social. So you do have to communicate, build, relationships on social media. And, Ellie, I've been following you for years, and I'm like so starstruck to like be on the same stage as you right now.
Did you fangirl?
Yes,
Fangirl?
Like
Fangirl?
I know your history and like what you're doing now. It's like it's so cool. But like with the Women with Drive conference and PRI, like I love that I get to meet these ladies and content creators in person that I've been following for years. So, anyways, yes, have a strategy, figure out what works for you, and be flexible with what changes.
For me, I think two things. First of all, if there's anybody here that's ever had a partner in life where you go, hey, it's New Year's and we're gonna drop 15 pounds, and then your partner goes, you don't talk like that, honey. I started only eating a quarter of a pizza when I had pizza at night, and I'm down 19 pounds the first week, right? So that's the content creation difference between my husband and I, because I'll try to, like a little bit stay on top of stuff. The man will post a picture every 6 months and it gets, 16,000 likes. The second he does it, he pays no attention to algorithms or anything. But what I would say, because we have people that do social media for us, that part for me is less important. But I do encourage people to not just blindly follow the best time to post is 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever people say. That's best for their audience. That doesn't mean it's best for your audience. Also, pay attention to the ROI of social media. It's imperative that our Kelly Moss site has a presence that shows our racing success and the incredible project, the Porsche builds that we do. There is no way that I'm gonna pay anybody to be posting 3 times a day about anything, So make sure that you truly understand what the ROI, or return on investment, of your time is, because it's super easy to get sucked into feeling like you're productive when what do you have in a week from that time spent? Are you getting sales? Are you making connections? Are you meeting people and advancing your career, or whatever it is that you're looking to do? So don't blindly follow these rules that are gonna have you spend, 10 hours a week or whatever on social media if that doesn't actually bring you results.
That's really solid. I like that. I felt real stressed out after you just finished saying that, though. Yeah, like, just because you feel like you're productive doesn't mean you are. I'm like, oh, God, I never want to.
It's supposed to free you.
Right. I don't want to be in her office getting screamed at, right? Ellie?
Yeah, I think it's quite hard because I think my social media presence has really reflected on my personal journey in the industry, as well as like a creative journey. So I think definitely go to her talk. But I will say it's hard because there's companies, there's drivers, there's like aspiring journalists. There's so many people. Social media is not one thing. It's like you can make it whatever you want to make it. So maybe being more finely attuned to like what your personal objectives and goals are for it, and then so you're kind of working backwards. I think that would probably be my best advice if I'm going to give it in like a broad way.
Yeah, don't slip any secrets with us, Ellie.
But Ellie,
Thanks.
how many followers do you have?
I think it depends on the platform. Like, I really started on TikTok, but like one of the things about followers is there's like quantity differences on different mediums. So like TikTok, it's like 300 plus K, and then Instagram is like almost 200K. But I value my Instagram followers a lot more because I get more engagement from them. So another thing maybe I might point out is I've definitely been more recently way less focused on numbers because my objectives on my presence in the space has changed a lot. And one of the things I really realized is it doesn't necessarily equate your success to the number of followers you have. I've definitely been less focused on my followers and more on where I want to take things, and also more so my peers, like the feedback that I want to receive. I really look towards peers and those that are in the industry more. So I feel like opportunity-wise, I've gotten a lot more valuable opportunities recently. I've gotten to do a lot of cooler things, and I actually think if you look at my growth chart of number of followers, it's kind of stagnated a bit. Yet the opportunities, and I will even admit the monetary amounts for those opportunities has grown. So don't be so tied to numbers, because I think that starts to become a pretty negative, vicious cycle.
Yeah, and that's what I was sort of getting to is you have truly focused on the objective. Like your social media presence is what got you the opportunities, and now you've been able to lean into that for your success.
And Ellie, I love that you said that, and I want to touch on something real quick. It was probably about a couple years ago, a manufacturer actually that was at this show approached me about hiring an influencer to help them sell their products. Ultimately, it's about the bottom line, and that's what they want to do. And they threw out two names to me. One was a guy and one was a woman. I'm not going to say their names, but the woman had, say, like 1 million followers, and the guy had about 30,000. And he said, well, who would you go with? I'm like, well, I'm going to go with the guy that has 30,000. He's like, well, so-and-so has 1 million. I said, listen, it's not about the followers. And the woman just happened to be like a very, beautiful woman, really smart. I actually know her, great woman. But unfortunately, most of the people that were following her were because of that. Now, with the guy, that's 30,000 followers that are legit, 30,000 followers that are following that guy because he's in the industry, and they're more than likely to buy the product they're selling because the guy, sorry, is not that easy on the eyes. And to no fault of her own, it's not her fault, but I felt that, going back to the numbers thing, the 30,000 he had for that particular product would be, it's more quality. And they probably would get more ROI based on him versus her. So whether they took that advice or not, I'm not really sure. So anyway, sorry, go ahead, Madison.
No, I'm sorry. I do not have like a huge social media following. I follow these ladies. But I think the thing that resonates for me is be authentic, have a clear message, like kind of what Ellie touched on is, just figure out what you're trying to say and be authentic and be you. And I think that will build your following.
So Madison, have you ever had it still blows my mind some days where I run into somebody and they're trying to, get sponsors, and they're like, what kind of advice do you have? And I'm like, well, what are you offering that company? They're like, oh, well, I'll let them put a sticker on my car. It's like, what? Really, in this day and age? So what advice could you guys give people in the audience if they're trying to obtain sponsorship, maybe like different, like we're beyond the days where I'm just going to put a sticker on my car. Do you agree? Yes. So what kind of advice would you give someone trying to pitch sponsors, or if you ever had to deal with it professionally or not?
Yeah, I think find sponsors that align with like your goals and that you can see a future with. I always find it like so cool. Like I think we were talking about Catherine Legg and how the Elf Cosmetics sponsorship was so cool, and like they really leaned into it, and I totally love that because it opened up a whole new door of a different sponsor that maybe we didn't think of. You know, sometimes we think of sponsors having in racing or in motorsports, they have to be a motorsports brand, but it doesn't. It can be a makeup brand, and like they totally ran away with it, and it was incredible. So finding a sponsor that really aligns with your goals, that you can see yourself going far with, and that your support. I think having a sponsor that you support is even better, and you're more likely to work well with them, and they'll work well with you.
What was we're past stickers on cars? Was that it?
Yeah. What advice can you give someone trying to trying to pitch sponsorship or obtain sponsorship? If you don't have any advice, what's the I guess the funniest or worst story you saw of someone trying to get sponsorship?
No, I think sponsorship-wise, I've always been quite pleasantly surprised with the positive reception that I receive when I actually pitch. So I've been doing a lot more outbound these days than I ever did prior. And I think if you're kind of in the same territory, I would encourage you to also, shoot that email out, reach out to someone's DMs, especially individuals. Like there's been so many opportunities that have stemmed from me DMing someone and just asking them to do an informational interview, like just being curious. A lot of people in the industry just want to help out. So don't always wait for a sign or wait for somebody to, an opportunity to fall into your lap. You get better and better at pitching to people. Your ideas are very valuable. And I actually find that you can make an opportunity a lot more fitting for your own audience, your own channels, which will only make the success of whatever you're creating a lot higher and a lot higher caliber if you're the one that is coming to the table with the idea. And I just really don't see a negative in trying.
No negative and slide it in those DMs, huh? I like it. No, I like it. That's solid advice. Victoria?
I would say two things. First, for sure, we're seeing a lot of people, there's a lot of more experiential situations that bring value to companies, certainly, which is nice because it's easier for them to find value in that than, like, I'm not going to go, oh, wow, John Smith Auto, take a picture and Google that and, reach out to them and buy something. The sticker on the car just doesn't work. So, for sure the experiential is more prominent in what we're seeing, but not even just in pitching sponsors, but just in general in life, shifting the mindset away from what can they do for me to what can I do for them. And you're gonna have a lot more success if you start to really be able to hone in on what value you bring them, as opposed to the other way around, not just in sponsorships, just in life.
Nailed it.
Yeah, exactly. And shameless plug, if you need sponsorship help, I have a course on it.
Miss Sparkles, thank you. We got you. Yeah.
But I could talk about sponsorship for days, and I do in the course. But like you said, like that needs-based mindset. So I did social media for a racing company that is here, and I can't tell you how many DMs they receive every single day from racers that have never used their products, saying, "Hey, I've got a spot on my car. You want to sponsor me? You want to put your logo on my car?" And it's like, no, like we don't know who you are. Like, can you even give us a testimonial? Like, have you even used our product before? And it's just like, and that's another reason why like I'm so passionate about like trying to help racers is because like you're doing it the wrong way. You're coming at them with a needs-based mindset. This is what I need so I can go racing, instead of how can I help your company so that way we can work together. And then that's how you build long-term relationships with companies. And so there's just so much I could say on it. Making sure when you are pitching to them, trying to have a unique idea, something that's completely custom to them, that has nothing to do with logos and branding. At the end of the day, the company doesn't care about where you're racing at or what you're doing. They just want eyeballs, and they want people to try out their products and buy their products. So come up with ideas of how you can do that, because like she said, nobody's gonna take a picture of a sticker on your car and look them up, right? You have to do more work than that.
What are your personal thoughts about people handing out physical sponsorship proposals at the PRI show?
From what I've heard from marketing directors is it does not work.
No.
They will either put it in a pile with others and it gets lost in the booth. They might just, put it directly in the bin. And also, like, if they don't know who you are, and the first thing you do is come up to them and give them a packet and say, hey, sponsor me. I mean, they're getting that all day long, unfortunately. They're getting so bombarded by racers asking the same thing to them all day long. They're not here to sell sponsorships. They're here to sell products. So, please don't do it. If you are wanting to work with a company and you know they're coming to PRI, reach out to them before the show starts and start building a conversation before.
100%. So I'm going to tell a quick story. A couple years ago, one of the largest manufacturers that's here at the show, and they're the director of Motorsports, right? Marketing Motorsports, and they pointed out to the stack of proposals behind the booth that had to be almost taller than me, and I'm about 5'2" on a good day, right? And I was like, oh my God. He's like, yep, Jeanette, you know where that's going? I'm like, where? He's like, straight in the trash, because I'm not taking it on the airplane with me. So the best advice, make some connections, try to get the business card, shake some hands, and put on a good impression, and that's about it. I mean, do any of you guys have any other advice on that? No? Let's see, what are your favorite tools and resources that you could share with the audience that could be beneficial to them in any shape, way, or form? Nope, back to me. Well, if you come to my seminar at 3 o'clock today. It's okay if you want to say that. I'm just being funny.
Do you mean tools for racing or business?
Anything,
life?
business, life,
Just try to be very organized. I have an app that I use. I used to, have everything written down in a planner. Now I just use an app, and I love it. I can't go a day without it. And, it's between work I have to do for myself, work for our race team, work for clients. So I have a lot to do. So I have to be very organized, very structured with what I do. Just stay as organized as possible.
Megan, what's your app?
Look up.
Click up? Okay.
Sparkles.com.
For me, I would say one of the things that I think is most critical for overall success is to remember to get the majority of value out of things by walking into each situation, whether it be a race event or a project that you launch, or you decide you're going to make a change in life or whatever it is, understanding again what your goals and outcomes are first, and to keep track of what the wins and successes are as you go, to recognize that your growth happens in your mistakes, and to always relaunch with all of that learning, which is otherwise known as the debrief. So after each race event or after each project or after each goal that you have, take that time to extract that information out, because otherwise you're leaving all the learning on the table. So that tool of debriefing, I think, is critical. Sorry.
I guess for me, the app that I use the most when it comes to brainstorming, I think, which can sometimes be the hardest thing. I don't know if anyone's heard of Mural, but it's basically like a virtual sticky note board. And I feel like a lot of the times I'm in my head about a lot of concepts. There's something there, I can feel it, whether it's a video idea or a connection that I can make, but I haven't yet quite parsed out the exact narration of it all. So I find, because I come from marketing and experience design, actually I did consumer experience, so it wasn't like social media marketing my background. a lot of experienced designers will sticky note just to get the ideas out, and you can start very basic. Sometimes my best brainstorming comes from what I don't like about things, so what it's not, and then I can slowly move into what it is. So I would recommend, if it's feeling a little bit crunchy or a little bit tangled, to really write it all down.
So my favorite resource, and I'll recommend this to everybody, is Women in Motorsports North America. Yes. It's an incredible resource. Look it up. The website is womeninmotorsportsna.com. Job postings, resources. They have Women on Wednesday. Follow them on social media where you can actually have like a one-on-one, basically like Zoom call with industry professionals. I know I benefit from it. Like, it's grown my network even more, and it's really good to have that network. So yeah, look them up on social media. Go to their website. They have such incredible resources, job postings. And gives you an inside look into the motorsports. So recommend everyone look it up before they leave today.
Pretty solid. All right, we're gonna wrap this up here with one final question, and then we'll do Q&A. So, final question. Best piece of advice that you can give for women in motorsports or the audience to close it out?
Yeah, my favorite, I've said this a bunch of times, focus on the things that you can control, like your work ethic and your attitude. Those are two things that no one can take away from you. Those are two things that know no gender, and they're universal in every single industry. So that's all I got.
Maybe mine would be you know what? There on the talk, the Woman in Drive talk, the keynote speaker actually said this, which I'm going to steal now, but he said, race with grace. So like putting the G in front of RACE, but give other people grace, give yourself grace. I think a lot of the times, especially in motorsports and just sports in general, it can feel like quite a rat race, right? You're working on a season's calendar. It almost feels like your itinerary or your schedule is not your own. And a lot of the times I find, especially coming from the F1 space, feels very frantic and chaotic, but give yourself grace, slow down. You know, you've got your lifetime, and I would say that actually I found a lot of peace with building a foundation, taking my time to make those decisions. It's not going anywhere. You're on your own time, and yeah, give yourself and others grace.
I would say that my best advice was, please don't be a victim. Like, you are responsible for your success. If you hate your job, guess what? You get to leave it and find a different one. Or help your boss learn who you are a little bit better so you can communicate more. Have authentic conversations. Don't ever come off the track ever and tell me about how you were a victim, because I'll show you a driver that won't be successful. Anybody who's really successful understands that they are 100% responsible for their life, and that would be my best advice.
Victoria, I just love your high energy, girl. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, when you
What kind of supplements are you on?
Summit, like, amazing. This, like, such great advice. I don't really have much to add on top of that other than what we've been saying. Like, you know, say yes to opportunities, keep focusing on growth. I like to say be 1% better every day. And like you said, like, don't be content with where you're at. Like, you know, you never know what could be, you know, what new opportunity could be out there. So.
Love it. Well, thank you. And we're going to we have a few minutes for Q&A. Does anyone in the audience have a question? I saw this one first. Go ahead. I don't know if we have a mic. You want to stand up or do we have a mic, Meredith? Oh, we're going to grab one. Sorry. Usually it's Mike running the mic, and I would say, hey, it's Mike with the mic, but I guess Mike's not here. Oh, sorry, I would have ran that down.
All right, so obviously you women are very successful, and I think there's a perception that oftentimes women are seen as lesser, or it's a detriment to be a woman in motorsports, but I think there's also opportunities where being a woman is a positive aspect, and I'm just curious for you all when that has happened for you, or how other women can take advantage and put that up as a strength.
Yeah, I think There is some people that think that being a woman in this industry is a disadvantage, but it is definitely not. It's so unique. People are going to remember you a whole lot more than you would in this industry, which I think use that to your advantage. But also, like, we will outwork anybody. Like, women will do that, and so definitely don't ever think of it as a disadvantage.
Yeah, I think on the lines of like resources and a lot of the times willingness for people to want to help. I think being a woman is great. So I think, yeah, I would encourage to not think of it as a negative at all. And I find that a lot of like even individual one-on-one help comes from my women colleagues, fellow female F1 content creators. I feel like I personally want to really go out of my way to help other women in this space. And I have been very blessed and thankful, but I think it's just attributed to the industry in general that I've always been welcomed with that same level of care and just individuals wanting to go out of their way to help. So, you know, again, it's even sliding into other women's DMs and, you know, asking them, can I do an
She's all up in there, right? Allie, you never slid up in my DMs, girl. What's up? I mean,
Yeah.
not yet.
No, I think like I've done so many informational interviews with girls that are interested in, you know, engineering degrees. I don't have an engineering degree, but I'll chat with you and I can connect you. I think women are connectors. Like we really try to uplift. And I know that sounds weird saying slide into these like ladies DMs, but no, like genuinely, I feel like on the individual level, I have been met surprisingly with such positive feedback of other women either wanting to help out, give resources, give knowledge, give information, their connections. I've gotten sponsorships from other women connecting me, which is actually why I'm going to Germany. You know, a fellow creator connected me as well, and we'll be working together. So you'll be surprised being a woman. It's like, you know, at least for me, I'm very attuned. Like, slide into my DMs. I'm happy to help. Even if you don't want to be a content creator, you know, I have mechanic friends. I have engineer friends. You know, we're all connected. I'm always surprised day in, day out. It's a very small space, especially on the women end. I feel like we all know each other, even if we do very, very different things. So.
I think that one of the incredible ways that Women in Motorsports North America is a resource is every year to the summit, they bring actual factual statistical studies that show over and over and over again why sponsorship for women is so much better of a value for businesses. So this year's statistics, 2.8 times more ROI investing in a female athlete. That's something that we can take to the table. The number one question in motorsports, hard stop, is how do we get the money to do what we love to do? So that's ultimately, it all boils down to that question for almost everybody in motorsports. WIMNA gives you those tools to be able to go. For sure, it's easier to get sponsorship dollars as a woman right now. That's a huge advantage. And I would kind of caveat that with, just as a side note, my own personal preference, which may or may not be popular, but keep the sexuality away from the cars, please.
I agree. Solid advice. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Well, it's like what you were saying
What was I saying?
about what you were saying earlier versus the woman versus the man.
Yeah.
For the creators. But yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, you know, the same thing with WIMNA. I've been a part of other women groups before. Like there's women in automotive that I've also joined, and those groups, like, those are your girls, you know, like they are there to support you no matter what industry you're in, no matter what type of motorsports. That's who you can rely on. And for me, being a new mom, I'm looking for women that are also moms that are also in racing, because it's very, very niche even within women in motorsports. And so just being able to find those connections, build relationships, and just have lifelong friends.
I'm your friend.
Yes.
I love you guys. Thank you. Did I answer your question? All right, any other questions? Hands. We got Meredith with the mic.
Hi, so I'm 18 years old and I race modifieds on the West Coast against a bunch of old men. And so, and this year I was actually the first woman to win a championship with the SRL Southwest
Hey,
Modified
congratulations.
Tour.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so my question's mostly for Madison here because you said you work with NASCAR teams. That's where I'm trying to go with that. And a lot of it's, working for sponsorships and whatnot. And my question is, because I've already learned a lot about what sponsorships want and all that, but I want to know what might teams be looking for besides money, what they might be looking for in like a female driver, traits, characteristics, anything like that.
I think being versatile is one of the biggest things that, what do you value? Like, what can you bring to a company? So obviously you know how to drive, like you just said that. But also, okay, do you know how to work on them? Do you know how like everything operates? I think being able to bring multiple skills to a company is, everyone kind of does it. Every company does it of like they're trying to do more with less, which sucks. But if you can do more, then you're more valuable. So I think just really hone in on every skill set that you can, get to do everything, and you'll be a valuable asset to any team.
Can I add something to that, Madison? So we ran the first ever female in Porsche Carrera Cup North America 2 years ago, and I have 3 women that are coming onto the team for 2025. So what I can tell you, although the money is obviously incredibly difficult, doing the hard work is step one of showing a team that you're willing to do the hard work when it comes to the track. I can give you the best car, I can give you the best engineer, and I really can. I can give you the best car and the best engineers. But if you don't sit down with those engineers and run through the data, you won't be successful. If you get off that track and talk about, oh, he T-boned me and there was nothing I could do, did you know who your competitors were next to you? That takes hard work to research the skill set of everybody next to you. Should you not have gone for the apex right there? Should you have waited and got a better run on them? There's always something that you can do. And simple little things like if you're gonna be pitching somebody, right before you have a meeting, send them a message and say, hey, we have a meeting in 2 hours, just bringing this to the top of your email box. Here's the things that I'd like to talk about. Do the heavy lifting to me, because when I see that with your personality, that gives an indication of how you'll behave on track and what you'll do with the opportunity that we give you.
Nice.
Thank you.
To answer your question, hey, take it easy on those old guys. Vision and stuff's a real thing. Any other questions? I think you had a question, sir. Thank you. Can we get a round of applause for Meredith? Thank you, Meredith. Appreciate you.
First of all, thank you to the panel. I get to participate in many different series, but the one series that I see more women racers is in drag racing, from juniors all the way up to the top. What do you think that secret sauce, that draw that brings so many women racers to that series?
It's just better. No, I'm just kidding. I like all motorsports. I like all motorsports.
We're a little biased here. So I've only been in drag racing. Like I said, my dad did it, so I haven't. Yeah, I tried go-karts, terrible at it, so I know I can't turn. But
At least she's honest.
So I think a couple different things is I feel like drag racing has a very easy entry to get into, whether it is junior dragsters or any level of sportsman. I feel like the costs are very low, especially compared to like kind of your type of racing. So I feel like it's easy to enter. You can take your daily driver down the track. You don't have to buy a race car. And drag racing is also very generational. I'm a second generation, but there's many fourth, fifth generation drivers out there. And thankfully, the grandpas and dads and uncles are very supportive if a daughter or niece wants to drive, because the race car doesn't know if it's a male or a female driving. And kind of like you said earlier, like just let the scoreboard do the talking, right? You don't have to try to, like you were saying, like don't, flaunt that like you're a female. The race car and the scoreboard, they don't know. So just do your best, be 100% every single time. And I don't know. I guess, yeah. I feel like it's
I
very
agree.
easy.
I think
Yeah.
like going back to because someone had a similar question last year, but it was kind of phrased as, how come there's not as many women in NASCAR as there is NHRA? But it's the same kind of thing. Like, it's easier to get into drag racing. You can take your daily driver. You can go, I used to work at Great Lakes Dragway. They're open every day except Monday. They have Tuesday tires, slick Wednesday, or slick Thursdays. I mean, you can go racing every day if you wanted to, so. And then, when the first car was made back in, when they had wooden wheels and stuff, then the second car was made, and that's when street racing started. That was when drag racing first started, so here we are today. That's a history lesson. Write it down.
And I think in addition to that, there's more women in drag racing because there's more women in drag racing. And what I mean by that is you see women there. Women see, so your reticular activation system, which filters the 11 million pieces of information that come to you a minute and gives you the 25 pieces of information that come to your consciousness. You're perpetually filtering for what applies to me, right? And when you see women in drag racing, you go, this is an opportunity for me. And that's why it's so important that I'm an accountant, getting up and talking in front of people. I'm not head down, shut my door, do my books, right? That's not but I have a responsibility to be comfortable talking in front of people so that people see women doing this thing, because that's how we get more women. The men are super supportive about bringing women into the sport across the board, in my opinion. I think it's just the visual of being able to see it and say, that's an opportunity for me, for my daughter.
I agree. If I ever need anyone to count my money, you're the girl. You're the girl. Any other questions, guys? Oh. All right, let me see what time it is. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up with this one. That's it. Make it good.
This is more of a request than a question. As a costume jewelry junkie, where is it? I can get all kinds of t-shirts for dragsters, female dragsters and stuff, but where's my earrings? Where's my necklaces? Where's my bracelets?
Actually, if you go to carchicks.com, I actually sell that, but you're very welcome. And if you order by the time I get home from PRI, I'll make sure you have it before Christmas. Yes, ma'am. And they look phenomenal on you. We got one more? Well, thank you for plugging my competitor. Really appreciate that, woman in the back. Hey, let's give a round of applause to the panel. Thank you so much. Round of applause to Meredith again for setting this all up and running around with the mic, because Mike with the mic wasn't here. We have a few moments. If you guys want to come up, you guys can talk to the women individually, take selfies, hero cards, the whole nine. Thank you again for coming. I'm Jeanette Desjardins of Card